Bollocks! Greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers. Tiki here.
Laser dude.
And welcome to the season 42 finale of Survivor Storytellers. Because we're storytellers, Laser Dude. It's what we do. All right.
People tell me to shut up because I won't stop telling stories.
God. Okay,
That's why
folks.
I tell them on channels.
So another successful season of Survivor Storytellers is in the bag. And Laser Dude, I'd say it's fair to say this is a stark contrast from season 41.
I mean, I remember when we got to the end of 41, you and Casey were saying how this is probably one of the more worst seasons. I was a little bit more bullish on it than you guys were, but this season, yeah, it's heads over heels better. The characters are a lot more well-rounded out. The winner a lot more rounded out than they normally get. Better edit overall. You had a good sense of where everybody's head was at the entire time. There was lots of fun moments throughout, and there wasn't that edge of bitterness that you really felt by the end of 41, where everyone really just hated each other.
Totally. So we'll get into all that, folks. The last time we spoke was last week, right before the finale. So what we're going to do here, we planned on starting with the final five, but we're going to kind of like build up to the final five because a certain co-host is late, and we're hoping that they join us before we get there. So we're going to go through the traditional rites of passage that honestly I still wish they did on the show. I remember it always being a big emotional deal when they did do it, and it's kind of just like a great way to kind of get a final say from everyone and remember people. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to kind of go through the whole cast in Google order. What?
At the very least, they should do it and then put it in the secret scenes. I know totally. Not everybody likes the Rites of Passage, but for those of us who do, you can just give it to us on the secret scenes, and nobody has to watch it.
My favorite parts of Rites of Passage is just seeing the people reflect on their game. I dig that. I dig the kind of like it's like from a storytelling point of view, I feel like it's very effective.
Story comes full circle.
Indeed. So we're going to do that. Folks, even though Casey is not here right now, again, I do hope that he's just running late and he can join us later on. I highly, highly, highly encourage you guys to check out the link in the description and just feast your eyeballs on Casey's Prometheus reality web series, which I was a part of in the first season. Season 1 is all there. Rest assured, I've said this before. I'll say it again. I fully think that it's a better edited, tighter story than season 41 was. Just as far as like the actual narrative and the distribution of screen time and everything goes. Season 2 is pumping up the promotion right now. There's been about 4 videos released, kind of cast teasers, and Laser Dude, I'm really intrigued on season 2 of Prometheus, and I'm really excited about it. So Prometheus is launching sometime in June, I believe. I wish Casey was here because he could give us an exact date. But by all means, folks, catch up on season 1. Get on the hype train for season 2. I highly encourage it. I can almost guarantee you that following Prometheus is going to be a better use of your Survivor off-season than Big Brother is going to be. So,
I haven't seen any of I haven't seen any of Prometheus, but I can guarantee for a guy who had to work at it, I worked at a TV station for a bit, and I had to watch some Big Brother for a while. I'll sign off on your comment there, Tiki.
Yeah. I don't even. I think the last Big Brother season that I like tried to watch all the way through was like the first one with Paul. I think that was the one that Nicole won. Anyways, I digress. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, we're gonna do Rites of Passage. Let's start with Jackson, and I don't have a lot to say about Jackson. In retrospect, I almost kind of think like we did get a good story out of him for sure. I almost think it was a little exploitive of the show where it's like, hey, we're gonna put this guy on just long enough to tell their really compelling story. Yeah. And, like, I almost feel like they knew. I almost feel like they should have pulled him before got a footing, if you know what I mean.
Absolutely. And it's not the first time that the show has like changed things on the fly. And I believe it was Survivor Fiji. They had one player short, and they changed up their whole format because someone quit like before the game even started. But I will say that's a little bit harder to do with three tribes.
Yes.
So but I do think it's like, well, we can't keep him here for the long haul, but we can keep him here for the 3 days so we get to tell his story. But still, it's sad that he wasn't able to play. I think that's kind of gut wrenching when you get there, you get started, and then it gets ripped out before you even a chance to get your footing under him. So
Yeah,
it's
just
sad
the
for
scene with
Jackson,
Jeff
but
confronting him was just like straight up uncomfortable to watch, and I don't even really think they should have aired it, frankly.
I think it's like at that point, what do you do? Like it's the problem with quarantine. That's the thing. If he had let him know, I was like, hey, I have this. I can't even remember what he was on, but he was on some sort of medication. He's
I
like,
think it
I have
was
this thing. I'm
oh
trying to go off
god,
it.
I don't want to speculate.
Anyway,
Never
we don't need to
Valium,
go
I
into
think. I
that.
don't know.
But if it was just a regular season, they'd say,
Lithium.
okay, well, we're not going to put you on and we'll put an alternate on. But the problem is, alternates now would have to wait 14 more days or whatever through to make sure they're not to get, you'd have to start over again. And so I kind of understand what they did. It's just tragic that he wasn't able to play. But
Yeah.
I will say that's partly on him for going in the first place. He could have been a little bit more upfront with him from the start. But
Sure.
that's just the tragedy of it all.
All right, so let's get to the first boot king, Zach. This kid is just killing
Zach
it on
from
social
Raro
media
Tribe?
right now. What?
I said Zach from Raro Tribe.
Zach from
No, obviously not. But
he's
yeah, Zach.
killing it on social media right now, and I honestly would not be surprised if they bring him back. I think he's super likable. I think he's got a really magnetic personality, and I honestly think he probably just got a bad luck of the draw. Honestly, I feel like Zach would thrive in a season where it's not a 6-person tribe because you kind of need more shields around you. You know what I mean? Like he kind of really stood out as the weak person out.
I think Zach would thrive if he could suck up to whoever is the alpha male. If he could get in good with them. If he can't, I feel like he could have gone out early anyway. But depending if there was somebody weaker on the tribe with him, with a bigger tribe, there's a bigger chance that you might have an older person who can't keep up or something like that. He could have survived a couple of votes.
Uh-huh.
You know what? I'll say this. I don't think his chances are coming back are very great unless they do it all first boot season. Then I say him and why am I forgetting his name? Um, the guy from Philippines. Why am I forgetting his name?
God. God, he's
Is it
Zane.
Zeke? Zane. I knew it was
Zane.
a Zane. I knew it was a Zane. Yeah, him and Zane are golden locks for an all first boot season.
I would counter that by saying I think Zach's most likely chance to return is on some sort of duo season with Marianne.
I guess, yeah, I can see it. Do them like a buddy, but the problem is they were never on the same tribe. They only buddy afterwards. But it depends if they're loosely like,
But
hey, they're friends outside of
Marianne,
the game.
this is a really unique thing about the season in Zach is Marianne kind of kept Zach's narrative alive, sort of throughout the season.
It's true. It is true. I would be up for it just to see former winner and first boot duo on
That's
Survivor.
what I'm saying,
That would be a
man. That's a
very
fun
compelling
combo.
story. That would be a very compelling story, and it's what how does he fare in that regards? But yeah, no, yeah, Zach was fun. It's too bad we didn't see more of him, but yeah, he's
I
it
just
wasn't meant
adore
to
the
be
little
in this
moment he has
format.
with Probst at the beginning of the season. I don't know, man. It sounded cool.
I totally feel like there's a possibility if I ever was on Survivor, I would be like that, where I just say what I think is a bad arse line, and they're just like, "What do you mean?" It's like, I don't know. Shut up! I'm trying, man.
right. All right. Next up, we have Mariah. Not much to say on her, except my thing with Mariah now, and I think this is very touching story, and obviously the COVID thing kind of hit home. I genuinely don't think they should be casting people who have just recently been through a trauma.
Yeah,
And I'm
but with
not saying that
COVID, I
as any
mean,
sort
that
of
could be with
insult towards
everybody.
people
You
who
know,
have been through
everyone's going
traumas.
through a lot of trauma these days.
Well,
But
I'm just saying, like,
I
trauma as
understand.
far as, like, you know, like losing a loved one recently. I feel like that's too fresh of a wound to go into a game like
Yeah,
Survivor that's so detrimental to your mental health.
I hear you. Like I'm trying to think of who else that has happened to. I
Timbertina
think
is
it's
the big one I can think
Timber
of.
Timber, yeah. And she just like I think it's the she not having the mindset to socialize. She wasn't really socializing with. Now, to be fair, she was also going up against Queen Cerie, so it's like, too bad, but you're going up against one of the greatest Survivor players of all time.
Right,
Uh,
right.
but it's like it is sort of that thing is like, can you get yourself? But then there's been other players who have lost some ones recently and like have used that to help become at peace. I remember Rodney from season 30 said like I felt I'd become at peace with my sister's death here.
Yeah,
But I
that's
don't remember
true.
how recent that was. That could have been maybe it was a couple of years ago for him,
I
not
just I
months.
just genuinely worry for these people's mental health. That's my whole
It's
thing.
true.
Because Survivor can
It's
be a
true.
real stress trigger, and if you've just gone through something traumatic, like you don't need to
Yeah.
be like
Don't
Survivor
add to
in
the
itself
pile.
can be a traumatic experience.
Yeah, don't add to the pile. Don't break the camel's back with that straw.
Right, right. So that's all I have to say with Mariah.
Yeah. She seemed very
Okay,
nice. I was actually more moved by her story than like other people were by Jackson. Not that I wasn't moved, but I was like, oh, that's really really tragic. It gets to be like the first responder to die of COVID.
yeah.
It's really
All
great,
right, up
but
next.
we didn't get to know her too much of a curator. Yeah, moving
All
on.
right, Queen Jenny.
Robbed,
Absolutely,
robbed.
absolutely. You and I are in total agreement about this, man. The
Oh,
first couple episodes, I was really feeling her.
can you imagine if Jenny was in Lydia's spot at the merge? I feel like that the entire season goes so differently. I feel like Omer gets caught trying to vote out Jenny a lot more than he does trying to vote out Lydia.
Because Lydia's a way more passive player than Jenny was.
Exactly, exactly. Jenny was quiet, but she was deadly, and I did not mean to compare her to a fart. But she was I think she did nothing wrong in the game and still was the person who ended up going home because of mistakes that were made by her allies.
I absolutely think she was twist fucked.
I mean, I wouldn't say exactly that because I feel like it was Chantel's mistake that led to that Jenny's going home. It's not like a twist happened and Jenny got screwed because of it. Chantel made a choice to try to go for something, and
Yeah,
because of
that's
that, it
totally
screwed up their
fair.
whole game.
I'm just saying the choice that Chantel made was a twist. So,
It was a twist, but it was also a mistake. Like she could
uh
have
huh.
chosen the right choice. But in any case, yeah, it's sad to see her go. Definitely an early boot for the season that I really liked and wish gone farther.
If I were to bring back two people from the pre-merge, it would definitely be her and Daniel. I think. Would you agree?
Yep, absolutely.
All right, but another person
Wouldn't
that
even
really
bat an
stands
eye
out
at
in the
that.
pre-merge is Swati, and
Yeah,
I think Swati
Swati
has a lot of
was
potential.
it's it's funny because like I feel like sometimes people get too threatened by other players too early, and it seems like Swati got too threatened by Drea too early in the game. Where I feel like if she had stuck with Drea and even like got her and Tori involved in this all girls alliance, I mean, if you are offered any alliance that is the majority, you probably should just go with that instead of trying to rely on Roxroy as your flipping third. I think that was her mistake. She tried to push for power too early when she should
Totally.
have tried to just push for safety. But I think that she has the potential if she gets a little bit older, if she came back, I think she'd have the potential to be a very dangerous player.
I don't think she has a good shot to come back, but I would like. I
No, I
think
don't
she
think
is.
so.
I think she is the type of person, like, I feel like out of everyone in the cast, I feel like people are probably going to sleep on her the most because her boot kind of just happens, like, in the middle of the pre-merge. It's a little bit unceremonious. But,
Yeah,
I
they
mean,
got the whole,
she
you're
was
my
gaming.
number one.
She was gaming really, really hard on that tribe, though.
Yeah, I think she was. I think if she was up against anyone,
Arguably too hard.
I think if the person she was trying to align with wasn't Tori and the other person she was trying to align with wasn't Roxroy, it's possible that works out a lot better.
Yeah. It's funny how that worked out with the overall narrative, right?
Yeah.
All right. So let's go to Daniel. I think pretty clear star of the pre-merge. I feel like the
Oh,
advertising
yes.
put a lot behind him for good reason.
I don't know if I've ever had a player whose stock dropped harder than Daniel's. Like, I was so high on him after he was like, "You know what? I don't want anyone to ever say these words. I don't want these idols to ever be coming into power." I'm like, "Ooh, Daniel, there you go. That's right. Make the twist work for you." And then he's
Yeah,
like, "Oh,
totally,
I didn't read the
totally.
thing the whole way. That's not the way it works." And now Mike is on my, "Oh, I lost the idol. Oh, whoops, saves. Everybody, what are we gonna do now? We're in a 2-2. What are we gonna do? Why are you throwing me on the bus? I'm not trying to throw shit down. I'm throwing shit down on the bus. And then his game just collapsed like a house of
So I
cards in a
absolutely
blizzard.
agree with you, but you must, like, that is a hell of a story, and that's why
It
we're
is an
here. That's what we do.
amazing story. It is an amazing story. People who have been voted out pre-merge on Survivor would kill for a story like this. It
Oh,
is so
totally.
much fun.
I can
I
speak
think
to that as someone who was voted out pre-merge in Prometheus, spoiler alert. I would kill to have an arc like this.
yeah, it's like if you're gonna go out, not swinging, go out flaming like a big ball of fire, just destroying everything. So,
Like Tony in Game
yeah,
Changer status.
I mean, I would say more entertaining than that because he lasted longer. But
That's true.
yeah, it was like honestly, if he comes back and gets into a better position, like I could actually see Daniel doing well. He has a mind for the strategy, but when things go wrong, he panics. He panics
Yeah,
like
yeah.
crazy. There was this board game I had when I was younger called Lionhearted, and it was this game where you rolled dice to attack using some of the dice sides were axes, some were arrows, some characters could use both. But if you rolled all three panics, your soldiers would run the other way and trample your own troops and could kill them. And that's
Oh,
what I
shoot.
feel like Daniel did. He
Yeah,
rolled all
totally.
panics and he killed his own chances of winning. But it was so fun to watch.
All right, let's get to Lydia. And upon further reflection, I truly think, like, she is absolutely not a casting dud. Absolutely not. I just think
No.
the editors did not use her properly.
Yeah, it's also possible like the stuff that she had to say just didn't really click with the story that they were trying to tell. But I feel like
I just can't
they
imagine that
just
she didn't bring some of her social media energy to the cameras, and that's the energy that I wanted to
yeah,
see.
I bet they would. I bet she did. I bet for sure she did. But I wonder if it was just like, yeah, but Marianne's also bringing us good stuff, and she's actually a big part of the story.
But
So
Mary Ann is
who
like
knows?
very wholesome, and Lydia is kind of like the other. Like Lydia could have been like the anti Mary Ann, or like the twisted mirror image of Mary Ann based on her social media.
Yeah, I totally agree. She could have. I just guess they just didn't want to tell that part of the story.
Okay, so fun fact with Lydia: guess how much her cameo appearance fee is?
Ooh, well, I don't really have a good grasp on how much cameo appearances are,
Just
but
it's Lydia. It's
uh,
Lydia.
$20?
No, Laser Dude, it's Lydia. Her Twitter handle is literally Lydia Chlamydia.
Yeah,
Think long and
I just don't
hard.
know.
What number? What number?
Oh, is it 69?
It is 69.
Of course it is. I just couldn't imagine how she would do it either way. Uh,
I love it. I
yeah,
love
of
it.
course, of course.
If I had a cameo
Yeah.
fee, it'd just be $4.20.
Yeah, if I had a cameo fee, I'd pay you. It's like I'd pay you to watch me talk to you for a bit.
Oh,
It's like,
God.
hey, watch my videos. These fine.
All right. Anyways,
I need more views.
no, I hear you on
anyways,
that.
yeah.
I still need to set up my Patreon. I've literally got all the goals in place. I just need to get off my lazy ass and do it. Anyways. Okay, so yeah, I think we're in agreement. Like the body positivity stuff she did bring to the table was valid and was good to see. But I'm sure there's a lot of character stuff underneath that we did not get to.
Yeah, I would just like to see like a deleted clips from every. This is what they should do: unaired clips from every player that gets voted out. If there's anything remotely interesting, just put it in a compilation, play it, and then we get to watch like a bunch of stuff that we didn't get to see behind the scenes.
Totally. All right.
Because you have the footage, might as well use it.
Yeah. Let's get to Chanel. And by the way, I'm still super proud of the fact that like on the premiere podcast, I was like, yeah, she's probably out like second in the merge. And I was totally right. I didn't have any spoilers at all. I just totally called it based on her premiere edit. I'm like, yeah, she seems like, she's just relevant enough to stick by through the pre-merge, but she'll be gone soon afterwards. Honestly,
I had a pretty good
prediction. What?
Oh, I was just saying I had a pretty good prediction too, but I didn't see it. I said that Chanel would work with her group until she has an opportunity to turn against them later, and she tried, but they just weren't having it, and they were going after like a dog, a rabid dog after a stick.
Right.
But anyway, yes.
I do think that the post-merge stuff with Chanel is pretty funny, just the way that it's edited with the people just like constantly just literally just ghosting her to her face.
You gotta go get those spearfish. It's like you said that before, like 5 minutes ago, Jonathan. You still haven't got the flipping fish. Yeah, she was. I still think that she was probably one of the more self-interested players out there. But after her thing with Daniel happened, it was just like it was both a sinking ship. She was able to shoot him before the ship sank, but then eventually hers just went down with it.
Yeah. So ultimately, I feel like she's one of the least relevant people to the storyline. So there's just not a ton to say about her.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely a big moment with Daniel, though. So that's. I mean, I feel like she's just kind of like she's just kind of like a cog in other people's stories. Which it's an 18-person cast, so some people are just going to fill that niche. It happens. All right.
I mean, that is the nature of the game.
Totally. All right, let's get to I think like probably one of the biggest like I would call him like I don't know, he's like a cult fan favorite, Roxroy. This guy has such a fascinating journey, doesn't he?
Oh man,
I feel like by this point we have to address that we already literally talked about these people last week. So we need to like just really quickly just kind of like, go through these even quicker than we have been. But yeah, I love Roxroy's story.
Yeah, Roxroy, it's like I've said it before, I'll say it again. He feels literally like he was taken from season 1. And the best scene of this whole thing in the reunion show,
it's like if B.B. Anderson somehow didn't get voted out
everybody, is like, who knew about the idol phrases? Everybody raises their hand except for Roxroy. I'm just like, of course he didn't know. Who's gonna tell Roxroy?
Here's the thing, it's like I feel like with Roxroy, it's like I feel like he kind of illustrates how good of a player in retrospect Romeo is. And we'll get to Romeo. I have thoughts on Romeo. I've always had thoughts on Romeo, but because Romeo, at the very least, he was self-aware about what's going on. Roxroy was like on a different planet.
He thought he was on a different season. but
Right.
yeah,
But I do
yeah,
love
no,
his
for
arc, though.
sure.
I love him kind of being the curmudgeon asshole, and then we learn a little bit more about him. We learn about,
No,
his.
not everyone needs to be the hero. Not everyone needs to have the glorified
But I
end on
feel
how
like
they're
by the
doing
end,
it
he
for
is kind
people
of a
who are
hero, though,
weirdos.
and that's why I like his arc so much. I love his stuff on Exile Island or whatever it was.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like why he was there still, but we don't need to get into that. But yeah, just him being like Jeff being like, Roxroy, I got a possible advantage for you. He's like, well, Jeff, I might have to leave you and go tend my rice, and it's
Oh
like
my god.
so funny.
I love that kind
So,
of character stuff for sure. Um,
yeah,
Probably doesn't have a chance of returning, and he probably doesn't want to. But man, he's a great, like, kind of like one-off, just really random character. Okay.
yeah. Roxroy
Uh,
would return if he didn't have to play Survivor while he was
yeah.
on the island.
Tori, I really don't have anything else to add to the conversation here. I think she's a wonderful casting choice. I think she's a very dynamic, fluid villain. Had fluid character. I mean, she had shades of villainy. She had shades of heroism. I really liked her in it a lot, and I also feel like she's probably the MVP juror of the season.
Yes, she definitely gets the Eliza Award for best juror face.
Yeah,
I think Tori. I think her problem is she wanted to be the villain. Like every time she's trying to do something devious, it blows up in her face, and then she has to backpedal so hard, and there's only so far she could go. Uh, but that was all I really have to say. I'm not even sure if I would really want her back in the season. I think there's bigger, funner train wreck characters like Angelina from David vs. Goliath and stuff. But
I feel like
I
she'd
think
be a
that
good like alternate if Angelina
yeah,
couldn't do it.
if she didn't want to do it, yeah, for sure,
Yeah.
for sure. But yeah, anyway, that's all I really got to say.
Okay. Okay. Next up, I have some things to say about this guy, based on the finale. So high, I oh god.
I was taking the low road.
So I want to just emphasize because some people are just going to assume that I don't like his jury performance just based on the feminist shirt. And I'm like, I don't really care. That you do you, dude. Like prop up the female winners. That's what the game obviously does need female winners. What I do care about, fuck him, genuinely, fuck him for that goddamn gaslighting bullshit with Romeo. That was so uncalled for, man. I My respect for High just totally got lowered by that, dude. It really did. I mean, first of all, I don't want to get into personal detail about this, but like my mom has been in a relationship with some asshole who gaslights the hell out of her constantly. Gaslighting is a very serious issue, and you can't just fucking bring it into the conversation in a game that's literally all about manipulating people. Like, genuinely, what the fuck?
Also, like nobody's voting for Romeo. You don't need to like bury the guy 6 feet
Yeah,
under. He's already not going to get a vote. It's like it was all about him. He's like, you said you didn't vote for me, but you did. You just said you did, and then it's like so your gaslight is like what are you trying to do here? Like nobody's voting for Romeo. It's
that
like
was
why do you have
honestly
to?
one of the most unlikable jury questions I think I've ever seen on the show. I mean, like it's not to the extent of something like the Brenda Dawn situation, which I just think was genuinely just super uncomfortable.
Those
But I mean, like
what is it, Lyricka in
as far as just like a verbal exchange goes, man, it was bad. And by the way, I give the other jurors a lot of credit for, most of them were probably never going to vote for Romeo, but they heard him out at the very least. And
Yeah.
God, what High did was straight up bullying, in my opinion. It was straight up bullying.
Yeah, I think High's a guy who he's very egocentric. Like
Yeah.
it's all about the ego with him. Like he posted on Twitter how he feels like Omar may have crossed the line because he of the lie he told Mike, but really it's really not that like, I still don't get, like, I don't think that that's out of the line, to make up a lie that somebody said about you.
Literally nothing is outside the line of Survivor unless you're like physically assaulting someone.
Yeah,
like
so
that's
it's like
the literal line.
But he has to make it like about him.
And
like
if you're
I
not
think that's the whole
personally
thing.
attacking someone, like let's say someone was like personally attacking Hai because he was gay or something, yeah, sure, that would be a reason to cause a bitch fit on the jury. Absolutely. That didn't happen. Everything Hai is bitching about is just straightforward manipulation. That's just very game centric.
Yeah, it's like even stuff like that Russell Hantz did, where he I don't know, like he burned people's socks. It wasn't. He did take joy and pleasure in doing it, which isn't great.
Well, yeah, he did.
But he did. It was part of a strategy
I'm
to
sorry, but
demoralize his
go
tribe.
back and check the footage.
No, I said he did. I didn't say
on socks.
Yeah, no, I said he did do that. He definitely did take pleasure in it.
Oh,
But
I'm sorry.
It was part of a strategy. It was part of a strategy.
It was, yeah.
To demoralize his tribe so they wouldn't be thinking strategically. Like, whether that was nice or not, I don't think so.
I feel like at the very least, he wasn't pulling personal punches. And that's all I care about. If you're not...
Yeah, I say there's
I don't want to see
what
bullying.
Bill did in Worlds Apart.
Bullying, I feel like it's fair game.
Yeah, like I don't feel like he wanted, from his perspective, he just wanted Romeo to admit that he wasn't telling the truth, or that he was trying to make the jury think that he was doing something that he didn't. There's a better way you could have phrased that. Just don't use that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to go as far as to say I absolutely do not want to see him back on the show after that. I really think it was a terrible look for him. Anyways, enough on that.
If he does, he'll be returning as a villain for sure.
I would hope so, yeah. Okay, so Drea. I truly do think that once again, she's very much a game bot edit, and no one's going to tell me otherwise. Her edit literally revolved around idols and advantages, but I think she is one of the most dynamic and fun game bots that we've had in a long time.
I think Drea, her game, she had a really good story, and like she kept on getting advantage after advantage after advantage. And I was thinking, man, she might be safe from 8 to the 5 if she plays all of her advantages correctly. But it didn't work out that way, and it turned Drea, her entire story over this season, loose lips sink ships. What happens in episode 2? She tells the girls about her extra vote and tries to use that to bridge an alliance. They try to vote her out. It doesn't work, but she keeps it going. What happens when later on? Now everyone knows she has an idol, and everyone's coming after her, and so then she plays it, and it's like, okay, no one's coming after her that hard again. But then she lets Omar know that she has the knowledge is power.
If she just would have told Omar, man, she could have won. She could have won if she didn't tell Omar that.
It would have been a very possible scenario if she didn't tell Omar that she could have won. I think that because of that, the lesson is don't tell anybody anything. Doesn't matter if you're their closest ally. Doesn't matter unless you are making a move that you need them to vote a certain way that night. Tell them right before the vote. Okay. Like, give them no choice or to tell anybody else. That's the lesson I would take from Drea's game. I enjoyed her a lot. I'm not sure if I would necessarily need to see her play again. I feel like she's not as dynamic of a character as much. But then again,
I feel like the character side of her came out in the last couple episodes, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
Like when her back was against the wall. I feel like the character side of her doesn't really come out when she's in a good position. But when her back's up against the wall, it can, that's when her personality comes up.
I also feel like there's got to be some edit stuff. Like when she was just smiling and laughing with Mike as she was being voted out and say, "Oh yeah, put another vote on you," and just like smiling ear to ear.
Okay, yeah,
I feel like
that's
there's got to
genuinely
be
one of the best
more.
exits in all of
Yeah,
Survivor ever. Like genuinely,
yeah.
no
I feel like
contest.
there's got to be more scenes like that from her, but we just didn't
Mhm.
see it. And I wonder if because Marianne's sucking up all the wholesome
I think it
moments,
could be
but
because of the Marianne factor. Yeah, because that personality is very close to Marianne's personality.
so
And with her focus on advantages, I understand, like she literally like broke the record for most advantages held by a player at a
yeah,
single time. So
yeah.
um
So I wouldn't, as I said I don't necessarily need to see her coming back, but if she came back, I wouldn't be mad at it.
I
I
would
would
be
be.
worried if she came back. I feel like she would be targeted early.
Depends if the tribes are 6 again
Uh-huh.
in a returning season, because you might need a strong player like her to stick around. But after the
That's true.
merge, anyway, fun. She was fun character. She was my winner pick and came up a little short.
All right, let's get to my boy Omar. I mean, what more needs to be said about
Omar.
Omar? Just the casting pick of the season, the player of the season for sure.
Hello,
I think
Canadian.
I think he got a little bit cocky. I think he got a little bit he got a little bit of a case of big move-itis, but man, was he a smooth operator when he was in the thick of it.
Yeah. I think Omar's story that we saw throughout this whole season is a little bit confident that he had the cards. And for the most part, he did. He had all the cards, but he always kept Marianne as his ace in his hole, and that ace burned him in
Totally.
the end. Because he kept on saying, like, I'm keeping Marianne for her idol and for her extra vote. And she used that extra vote to ensure that he went home. And I mean, it's sad because I wanted Omar to win because I thought that he was playing the best game. He orchestrated most
I
votes,
at
but
least
I
wanted
think
him in the finals.
yeah, but I think in the end, I feel like if we hear in like behind the scenes interview that he had an alliance with Hai and Drea. I feel like if he stuck with them a little while longer, because neither one of them were coming after him from what we saw. So I feel like if he stuck with them for a little longer, he could have squeaked his way to the end.
Yeah, I for sure. I think it's very possible.
So, and I
I
feel
think he's the type
people
of
get
player where
mad.
it's like almost a given that he's going to be back.
Yes, absolutely. He was like I haven't said I was going to talk about my top 3 people to come back, but Omar is number 1 with a bullet.
Okay. All right, so
But
let's loop back
yeah.
around to the final 5 now. Let's talk Lindsay. Lindsay. All right.
Is this the best performing Lindsay on Survivor? I think so.
Ooh, that's a good question. I think so. Yeah, I'm pretty
I don't think
sure.
any other one has gotten past the merge.
I think you're right.
So good for
Kind of
you,
a
Lindsay.
cursed
Best
name,
Survivor
honestly.
performing Lindsay.
I like her. I think that I think the edit kind of buried her at first, which was a shame because I feel like if we would have gotten just a little bit more of her in pre-merge, I feel like she would have been a more realistic contender. Because honestly, my biggest nitpick with this season from a storytelling standpoint, and it's honestly kind of like a double-edged sword, just because it kind of means that they told the winner story too well, which it's like that's not that much of a complaint. But by the end of the season, I knew Marianne was going to win. I like honestly, by the time we got to Final 5, it was literally a case of like all the other players were drawing dead edit-wise, as far as I could tell. So, I mean, watching Marianne win was satisfying, and we'll get there, especially with the final tribal council. But I feel like I would be in more suspense of a Lindsay win if she would have gotten just a little bit more airtime in the pre-merge.
Yeah, a little bit more airtime early on. I said at the beginning, is like I felt like Lindsay was a very strong player. I
I
think
think
her
she's
only
certainly one of the most impressive female challenge performers we've seen in a while.
yeah. Yeah, I'm seeing who'd be the last dominant female challenge, like Sydney from Brains versus Brawn versus Beauty 2, maybe? I don't know. I
Yeah,
actually
yeah,
know
something like that.
Michelle probably from Brains versus Brawn versus Beauty. She was really, really
I'd
dominant.
also
Anyway,
throw like Natalie Henderson on there as well.
yeah, I think that she was I'm glad we got a more rounded look at her after the merge. I know there was so much to do on Taku. You had to look at Omar, you had to look at Marianne, you had to look at Jonathan, and then like to focus more on Lindsay, we just like might as well make the whole episode about them. But I feel it is a problem with the edit that is like you kind of count her out. And I feel like on the rewatch, people might not count her out as much for people who aren't watching this like directly after season 41, for people who are just hopping around. Because I think after season 41, we're all like, there's no way they're burying the winner again. It being the second season in a row with a female winner where they bury her edit in the first half. There's no way they're doing that again. So that's why I think we counted her out so easily. But still, I think that for the most part, her only hiccup was she would get short sighted. She would get
Absolutely,
laser focused on some things, and then she would forget. Like she had to go. She wanted Jonathan to lose that challenge, so she had to go against it in the do or die. Nearly cost her spot right there. She had to not play the idol because she got the thought in her head like, oh, maybe it will. Go back into the game, even though it was an amulet, not an idol. And when she got those thoughts and then she didn't think through all the way and she would get short sighted, that's when her mistakes would crop up.
Yeah, totally.
But yeah. I mean,
yeah, I agree that I think her biggest flaw was just kind of the tunnel vision with Jonathan.
That it was her big thing because at
that point she really should have realized that Jonathan was a goat and he wasn't going to get any votes if he did make the end.
Oh, I gotta say, my most pissed off moment in the entire episode was actually with Lindsay, with her saying, "Jonathan, why didn't you tell me we're going after Omar? Because you voted for me." But
okay, I'm glad you brought that up because I
really
really did think that Lindsay did become a poor sport at the final 5 round. Unfortunately, it wasn't a great look for her to go out on.
Yeah, that was really bad. Like, come on, it's like, yeah, you voted for. You were trying to get him out. Why are you angry at him for not including you in a vote that you were trying to vote him out on?
Yeah, that was like
she might as well have said, "Jonathan, why didn't you just vote yourself and go home?"
right. All right.
But I'm sure it's one of those things where at the time, it's like with Sarah in like Kagayan. At first she was like, Tony, you betrayed Cops R Us, so you're no longer Cops R Us. And then like in Game Changer, she's like, backstab I was gonna backstab Tony too. So it wasn't. I was just like on the island, you feel that way. But then you think about it later, it's like, okay, maybe I was being a little hypocritical there. So I'm not sure if he still holds to that right now. I'm sure just Jonathan, the feeling of Jonathan outmaneuvering her made her very upset.
All right. So speaking of which, Jonathan, I think, is a character where I truly do think he has a great kind of rise and fall arc. That's kind of like what I relate him to. It is very interesting to me that like throughout most of the pre-merge, he is painted as like an absolute hero. Just obviously like a god tier challenge performer. I still don't think we've seen anyone quite on his level in the team challenges. And then I said this on last week's podcast, and I'll stick with it. I think the scene with him forming his connection with Mike was kind of the peak of his game. And then after that, he kind of got comfortable. He got a little too comfortable and complacent.
I think Jonathan did his job a little too well. I think what he wanted to do going into the merge is have everybody underestimate him. Like, oh, I'm just a big dummy challenge guy. I can't do anything.
Right. And then,
at first,
try to become that.
Yeah. But yeah, then you confirmed everyone's suspicions by not being great at the strategy and by alienating your alliances and stuff like that, and to the point where it's just like he didn't really feel like, or it didn't really feel like he had anyone's respect. And
The
that's
dude
the
straight
thing
up
about
sucked
Survivor.
at the strategy.
I will say this: you could have the best strategic game in the world. It doesn't matter if you don't have the players' respect. And that was what he didn't have. He had Mike's respect, but that was it. Even Marianne was like, yeah, he kind of sucks. He's like,
Oh no, Marianne
uh
couldn't stand him from time to time.
yeah, exactly. So it's like, and I feel like, and he tried to like rein it in, but it wasn't even necessarily like he said anything wrong to anyone. He just rubbed everybody the wrong way just because. I don't know. I can't even say why because I wasn't there, but it was just he never got it. He never grabbed the game by the
I mean, I
horns
think
like
it's
he
pretty
needed
sick.
to.
I believe the edit with the hangry stuff. Like, I could see that. It's like as the game
Yeah.
goes on, he just gets more and more hungry, more and more cranky, and a little bit lethargic. He's not helping out around camp as much. So yeah, I that all checks out for me.
Yeah.
All right.
I think a lot of people, or I think Jonathan is probably one of those that is probably guaranteed to come back. But I tell you this, I think if he does, I don't think he's making the merge.
You know what's
I know
funny
that's
is
a
that
bold prediction.
I would think on paper he's guaranteed to come back, but like honestly, I would rather see a fourth Malcolm return than a second Jonathan return. I just feel
Well,
like I just feel like there's
Jonathan or
a lot
Brad
of
Culpepper.
what?
I said Jonathan or Brad Culpepper. Uh,
I mean, I'm just saying
to come back.
there's a lot of characters in his archetype that I feel like circumstantially he had a good arc, but I feel like a lot of the casuals who really like him don't really appreciate the fact that he was kind of a rise and fall arc. They just see him as like the challenge beast. And I don't know. Like I can't I could see him slipping between I could totally see him on another season like Joe Anglim style just right away. But I could also
Yeah.
see him potentially slipping through the cracks.
Honestly, he's not on my top 3 or even 5 probably players that I would want to return from this season.
No, he's not on mine either. Honestly, just because I feel like how he plays this season is pretty much his best case scenario. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, and here's my thing. I only want to bring players back personally if they have a chance to win the game. That's always my thing. Like I like my
Or at the
big
very
fun
least, if they have
characters,
a
but
chance to do better than they did before. And I think Jonathan has
yeah,
no chance to do better than he did before.
no, even if he made it to the end, he
Yeah.
wouldn't win. So
All right. Romeo, Romeo, wherefore art thou, Romeo?
I am gonna pat my back the super hardest I can because I'm not sure if you remember, but last week I said Romeo's winning the final immunity and he's taking Marianne.
Yeah,
Did I
you
not
called that.
say
You
that,
called that.
Vicky? I'm so happy with my my prediction. That's my happy prediction of this whole season. But yeah, Romeo.
Romeo, for me, you guys have known from day one, I have had a soft spot for this kid. And for me, he's honestly one of my favorite final three goats in the history of the game. I
Yeah.
I think his game is so genuine. Obviously he wasn't doing a lot, but I feel like his speech at the end, even though he was drawing dead, I really respect the fact that he was able to compose himself and eloquently talk about how it felt like to be on the bottom and how he was, just kind of scrapping by to survive the whole game. I was really, really impressed with his final tribal. I was honestly, on a personal level, thrilled for him that he got to have the moment where he won the challenge and was in control.
Yeah.
There's a lot of positive stuff with Romeo. I feel like he is an excellent representation for the LGBT community. Far better than High. Far better than High. Shade thrown.
I Yeah, I think Romeo, if he comes back on another season, I feel like Romeo has a really good chance to win.
Oh, I
Just
agree.
because, like, I feel like he will
People would
learn from his
underestimate the
mistakes
hell out of
from.
him.
Yeah, they will and underestimate him, think he's just a wacky character, but he will also have to have learned from his mistakes from the merge of this season. He apparently, from all reports, went way too paranoid and crazy, and then people just felt like they couldn't trust him.
Uh-huh.
And so I feel like he will be able to learn from that going forward. And I feel like he could pull like in a all goats alliance, take all the
Oh,
people who
man.
everyone else considered as a goat and take that to the end. And I
Oh,
think
I
he could
love
win
it. I
that
love it.
pairing.
So yeah, I think
But
Romeo was an absolute slam dunk as a character. I really do. And I know that a lot of people are just going to say, "Oh, he just did nothing," and I'm like, "Yeah, but like first of all,
I think people get stuck in narratives.
he
Like
very
people,
eloquently
yeah,
stated at the final tribal how he got stuck in that position. It wasn't his
yeah,
fault that he was doing nothing.
yeah.
Um,
Like every time he tried to do anything, people would say, "Oh, Romeo's going crazy. We should
right,
probably vote him
right.
out, maybe."
So I don't know, man. I just think his presence on this season just really elevated the season for me. I really loved him as a casting choice.
Yeah, no, he was fun. He was really good, and I think that the problem with Romeo is that there's always a goat spot in Survivor. There's always whether it's said amongst the players or not, there's always somebody that everyone is looking at as like, well, they're not going to get any votes.
Uh-huh.
And I feel like if they didn't have that split tribal where Roxbury and Tori go home, I don't think Romeo's in the goat spot.
Mm-hmm. I
I
hear you.
just think he was the next guy at the bottom who wasn't in
Where if
control of
Drea would have
anything.
just pulled him into the big group alliance at the merge,
Yeah,
like there's a lot of
and
small what if scenarios that would have put him into a genuinely kind of crushing position.
yeah, and I think it's just the problem is he was never in a position to gain power back.
Yeah.
He was only in a position to assist on moves. And that's unfortunate, but that's just the way the game rolls sometimes.
But regardless, like I said, I love that he had his moment with with winning the immunity. I love that the jury, for the most part, outside of High, gave him the floor and gave him the respect to state his game. And honestly, I think outside of like the obvious ones like Fishback, I truly think he might have given one of the best jury performances for a no vote getter at a final tribal council.
Okay,
I
okay,
really
okay.
do.
Look. Tiki, I love Steven Fishback. He's a great character, but his final trial sucked.
Oh
It
no,
was
you're
one of
right.
the
Now that I think
worst.
about it,
He was like
I mean,
he's
he's a
probably
great.
the
I
best
just think
player as
Steven
a zero
Fishback is
vote
just such an
finalist.
obvious. Like when you
Yeah,
think Steven
he's a
Fishback,
great.
you think like, oh, best person in the final two to not win. But yeah,
Yeah,
I
I will
hear you.
say Steven Fishback is the best player to not get a vote or anything in the final triple.
But the final treble, I would argue to say Romeo's
Tag
final treble
team
council
mopped the
performance
floor with him. It was a bloodbath.
Would you say Romeo's final tribal was better than Steven's?
Oh, by a lot.
Yeah, there you go. It's like I really think that Romeo's going to be a character that ages well with people. I feel like when people look back on the season, they're going to just appreciate him even more. So I'm very high on Romeo as a character. He's easily one of my favorites of the season. Okay, next we get to Mike Turner.
Yeah. Mike,
okay, so Mike, oh my God, we go from one of the best final tribal council performances for a non-winner to one of the worst.
Mike, I'm going to say this.
I
Mike
totally called it, by the way. I mean, I
the
think the edit was pretty much projecting this. Like,
yeah, you did. You said that he was going to try to play the honor card.
Uh-huh.
And for anybody playing Survivor in the future, never, ever, 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 under any circumstances, I played honorably card. Because you know what you're actually saying? You're saying, hey, jury, I'm a better person than you.
Yeah,
you're all evil scumbags, and I'm basically the
just the fact that the jury was straight up like they were giving him the chance. Like, they were basically like lining up a softball pitch to him, and he still just totally biffed it.
Mike's problem, it's always the thing is like you gotta know other people's point of view on things. And Mike couldn't see anyone's point of view from his own. And from his perspective, he did play an honorable game, kept his word, and only voted out people when they were coming after him. He only voted out Drea when Drea was trying to use the the steal of advantage, the knowledge is power advantage on him. But that's actually not true. But maybe he thought he was only going after Drea because Drea was going after him. But that's not the perception. And it's just, and to be fair, to Mike's credit,
I
he
think the
did
high thing is probably the high thing is probably the worst.
Yeah, the high, he didn't do that great. He did try to backpedal, say maybe I didn't play as honorably as I thought I did, but I did play the game as hard.
Okay, and when he did that, I was like, oh, Mike, oh no,
it's too little, too late.
You don't change your opinion like mid-final tribal council.
Well, I think if you realize you made a mistake, you can try, but it's not.
It's not going to work, though. I mean, you can give it a shot.
But maybe some people really want to vote for you and they just want you to say the right things.
Sure.
And but the biggest problem for Mike is that Marianne hit it out of the park. So I think he had the most chance to win going into the final tribal, but lost it at the final tribal. There are some seasons where it's preconceived notion. As soon as Tom wins that final immunity versus Ian, that he's winning the game.
Totally.
As soon as Mike Holloway wins, he's winning the game. Boston Rob wins, he's winning the game. This one, we predicted that it was going to be Marianne, and we were right. Mike had a chance to win this and lost it at final.
I think
tribal.
Mike coming into the final tribal, he had both the most moves on his resume, and also, and I still think this, I think he easily had the best social game of the season.
Like, I tell you this, put me into Mike's brain at the final tribal council. I'm winning that season for Mike. I'm saying I had a relationship with every single one of you. I whenever there was a tribal, I was on the right side of the vote every single time.
Totally,
Marianne was on the outside of the vote, was only taking orders from Omar. I was the one who approached Marianne to come take Omar out. While she did provide the extra vote to help us do it, it was my plan from the get-go. It's like, flipping heck, that it writes itself where you can say
exactly
that Marianne was on the bottom.
To hear, and he just couldn't do it.
Mike just didn't have the social awareness of the gameplay of. I remember I was watching RJP and somebody commented on it that said Mike didn't realize how good of a game he actually played, or at least wasn't able to articulate how good a game. Because when you think about it, he did everything right that a Survivor player would. He stuck with an alliance until it was going to flip on him, then he flipped it on them. He was always on the right side of the vote at every single one except for the Jenny vote in the pre-merge. But every single other vote since then, he was on the right side of the vote. He always had the numbers. He was always on the right alliance, and he made it to the final three. But he wasn't able to articulate that, and because of that, people weren't swayed. You have to make people think that everything you did was on purpose. Now, like Marianne plays up, and I know we're not there yet, but I'll say Marianne plays up like I was pretending to be ditzy and not smart, so that you guys would underestimate me. Now, was she the entire time? Maybe she was, maybe she wasn't. But the point is, she convinced them that she was, and Mike just couldn't convince them that he was doing all that intentionally. They just wanted to hear him say, yeah, I used the honor integrity to play you, but he didn't have that card in him.
Yeah. All right. Okay, and yeah, let's get to Marianne. Obviously kind of a predictable winner when it comes down to it, but I think her story is so good that I really think not showcasing it fully would have been a discredit to her. So, I mean, on paper, I feel like her gameplay is pretty damn similar to Erica's. I just think she's first of all, I think she has
very similar.
She has a way bigger camera presence than Erica has. And Erica has a fine camera presence, but she just leaps off the screen. And
Yes.
I don't know. I just feel like narratively, obviously, they like the biggest problem we have with Erica winning wasn't so much that she won. It was the fact that like hello, McFly,
Yeah.
like the comparison I make
Erica, wherefore art thou, Erica?
well, no, the
In the
comparison
end.
I always made with Erica, especially Erica and Heather, is like, could you imagine on Borneo if Rudy was just completely invisible until the merge, and then it was like, oh, by the way, I'm Richard Hatch, and Rudy's my biggest ally out here. It's like that.
Yeah.
That's literally the whiplash that we get with the Heather thing, man. It's like you gotta
I
show the
said this
biggest
last time.
allies of the winner.
I said this last time on Survivor Season 41. Is like, if you don't want to show them on your show, don't put them on your show.
Yeah,
But
totally.
if they are the ones that go the farthest and are the dominant alliance throughout the majority of the merge, then you have to show their story. Now, here's the thing. We say Marianne was predictable as a winner going into the final episode. I think that's true, but she wasn't predictable until the Omar boot.
No, I agree with that. I think the Omar boot was such a good move, and it kind of like shifted the game so dramatically that at that point, based on game positioning and based on the edit, I really don't think there was another alternative after that. I think Omar was her distraction.
Yeah, I agree. But I would say is like as similar how I said like I haven't seen a Survivor's player when I said about Daniel when he said I've never seen a Survivor player's stock fall so hard before. For Marianne, I've never seen one rise so hard before, but in a natural way. Like it wasn't just chance that whoopsies, what did I do? She played the move correctly. She did it correctly.
I honestly feel like the one move she did play was a Cirie Fields level move.
Yeah,
like
and it was
to me, it had shades of the 3-2-1 boot.
Yeah, you know what it actually is similar to? It's similar to like this is like the Cirie trying to vote off tie vote in Game Changers if it actually worked.
I could see that. Yeah.
But
and so obviously, I feel like she just completely crushed the final tribal. Like, I'm not gonna go as far as say it was Herzog level, but I mean it's close, man. Like she just had like first of all the way she speaks. I mean, I've got to give her credit because it's like for being I could totally absolutely relate to her in this regard. Where I am a very, very quirky, over-the-top person, just like she is. But I would like to think that my vocabulary and the way I speak and the way I present myself, especially because I'm a podcast host, is very eloquent. And she is very much the same way. Very over-the-top personality. But goddamn, if she is not putting a lot of thought into every word that comes out of her mouth when it counts.
Yeah, she is very quick-witted. She's very fast, but what she says has an impact. I mean, I wasn't really considering Marianne to be too much of a witted thing until the Tory vote when they had that big important moment. Marianne just articulated herself so well.
I think that was her big, like kind of like coming out is not necessarily a player, but definitely is like someone who can speak for herself.
I was thinking right there is like, man, if she makes it to the final tribal, as long as she has some moves, she could win this. She can speak so quickly and so fast, but not saying nothing. She's saying important details. And I gotta say, she stole my move. I hate it when survivors like take moves that I have been like imagining in my head and they play them first. Like I imagined the Mike Holloway move where he like pretends like we're gonna vote multiple ways. I'm going to put my vote on Tyler, and she's going to put her vote on somebody else, and we're both going to be safe. Who are you going to vote for? I was like, yeah, that would be a great move. And then Mike Holloway did it. I'm like, dang it, he stole my move. And then Marianne, I was like, if I had an idol that I didn't need to play, but I used it, I would love to just keep it to myself and mic drop it at the mirror.
And she totally did that. And it was totally a mic drop moment, and it was great.
And I literally turned to my wife and I said, that's a mic drop. And I'm not talking about a microphone. I'm saying that's Mike right there. His game just dropped completely.
I feel like it's so much more satisfying because we see time and time again, we see people just sheepishly hold on to their idols until the end of the game and just play them at the final 5, even though they know for a fact they don't need to,
Yeah.
Like I always say that if you don't need an idol and if you don't need to play an idol at Final 5 and you have one, like try and make a Natalie Anderson type move with it. But this is also like a very legit and probably easier way to go about something like that and still make it a move.
Yeah. I was saying to my wife, like when she was contemplating keeping Lindsay in the game, I said, if this wasn't the forced fire, it would make sense to keep Lindsay in the game. Because with Lindsay in the game and who are they trying to vote out? Jonathan? Yeah, with Jonathan out, then Lindsay's definitely taking Marianne to the end. Romeo's taking Marianne to the end, and Mike would be taking Marianne to the end.
Yeah.
And so that's 3 people that would be taking her to the end. Well, okay, Mike might take Romeo to the end at that point, but still, it improves her odds. Well, I guess like without the fire making challenge there, you have at least everyone trying to go after Lindsay trying to keep Marianne in, but it would have been a good move, but with the forced fire making challenge, it's not a good move because it just is too dangerous to keep Lindsay in the game like that. But she played it in the best way to get the votes for her, and so good for her. She earned that win with that.
All right, and with that, we're out of names, and yeah, it's been a great season. Thank you for coming on, Laser Dude.
Oh, no problem.
And
my pleasure.
I have no idea what happened to Casey, but check out Prometheus, folks. He's been hard at work. If I were to wager a guess, he was probably hard at work editing Prometheus, took a nap and fell asleep or something. So yeah, check out Prometheus. Links in the description, guys. It's been a great season. We'll for sure be back with Survivor 43. And have a good one.
Bye.
Marianne, you just won the game, Marianne.